liked what she did and really wanted to get back into the ring. And then she wrote a blog on the WWE Universe website where she basically thanked the McMahons and all the trainers that had helped her down in FCW, and they pulled that blog a few hours later. So they weren't overly thrilled with her. I think there may be a little bit more to that story that'll probably come out here in the next week or two, and we'll put it on the site.
I hope it wasn't the injury-prone thing like Mr. Kennedy, because if that's the case, Matt Hardy's screwed.
Well, and here's another thing: is when we had Triple H and Randy Orton, and Triple H right in the beginning of the match, Triple H took Orton, slammed him shoulder first into that ring post, and I'm thinking, boy, you think they'll fire Triple H? You know what I mean? Because remember the Kennedy thing with where Kennedy basically dropped Orton on the wrong shoulder, and that put some heat on him, and then he was eventually released.
Well, he claimed it was because Orton did a spot that wasn't called. He was supposed to be a quick roll up from Kennedy, and instead Orton hit an RKO or tried to hit an RKO. Remember, he posted a hypothetically speaking, if I was injury prone and somebody hit me with an axe and blah blah. Remember that blog he did a couple days ago?
Yeah. I mean, it was just, I think Kennedy kind of got screwed on that end of the deal. And he'll make a statement over in TNA for sure. I mean, that's one guy that once that no-compete clause expires, I think you'll see him over there. I mean, TNA is going to have Candice Michelle as well with once her no-compete expires.
TNA's got a chance to beef up. I mean, if they really got all the guys.
Well,
they got Taz coming in, so that's a good one.
Taz, Kennedy, it's pretty much a lock from what I've heard, and then Umaga, which is possible. I mean, do you really want to pick up
If
Umaga?
You want to keep going with the possibilities, Jeff Hardy, who knows what's going on with him?
Here's the thing about Umaga. I mean, they just made it public that he failed another drug test. So does TNA want to take a risk?
Yes. They don't care about that shit. Come on.
Well, this soon. I mean, it was made public. You may want to give him. I mean, that doesn't make them look good.
But by the time his 90-day no-compete clause expires, nobody cares about that story anymore. Nobody even will really remember it.
Right, but it's a blemish on the record, you know what I mean, where you have
but TNA is hungry for WWE star power. They've proven it time and time again. I mean, they go straight to the top as soon as they walk in the door.
TNA is also trying to implement a drug policy as well. I mean, Congress came after WWE, and I'm sure they requested TNA as well. We posted the Dixie Carter statements and the Linda McMahon or Stephanie McMahon, I think it was. Which McMahon was it that went before Congress? We posted the transcripts of that. So but they're not in any position to turn down a big star if it's easy to get, and not expensive. They're not in really any position to say, well, this guy's got a bad reputation, because if that was the case, they wouldn't want Kennedy either, because Kennedy's going to hurt all their guys, and he's going to be injured all the time, and they're going to pay him too much to sit at home with a broken whatever, It'll be interesting to see what happens with Umaga. I think he may. It's just my personal opinion is I think they may give him a little bit more time than guys like Mr. Kennedy or Ken Kennedy and Taz coming in. Candice Michelle would make a great addition to the Knockouts division as well over there with Victoria came in as well. I mean, there's guys in talks with Rob Van Dam.
I was going to say, if they could ever get RVD, that would be huge for that company. Enormous.
Yeah, but they got Lashley too, and I thought Lashley would be a little bit bigger of a deal, and we haven't really seen.
He never did anything though.
Well, he's got his fight with Bob Sapp this Saturday, and after that's over, I think they're gonna try to bring him back in and get him involved in storylines. So
I don't understand that though, because is it because it's a big name fight or? Because he's going to have a fight every month or every month and a half, every 2 months. He said he wants to fight.
Bob Sapp is his biggest fight. I mean, it's his biggest fight. What's he got, 3 fights to date? This will be his 4th?
Yes.
All right, this will be his 4th fight, and out of those 4 fights, I mean, Bob Sapp is obviously the biggest name fight that he's had to date, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you want to get technical, the last guy, what was it? Not the last guy, the guy before that, Jason Guida. That's a more dangerous fight than Bob Sapp. People know Bob Sapp, but if you know him as an MMA, if it was kickboxing, Bobby Lashley, I don't know if he'd lose, but he would definitely be in trouble, and I could see all the fear. But MMA...
Guida was talking some shit, by the way, too, before that fight, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was
that was the card we were talking about with Roy Jones, where they mixed boxing and MMA. Oh no, that was off the air.
That's right. It was that, right?
Yeah, that was off the air though. I thought we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier before we went live on the air.
People who don't like MMA but love boxing, and come on.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. The UFC thing, the UFC and boxing, and I would think more pro wrestling fans would like the UFC. You know what I mean? But it's not.
They're that perfect blend where they can draw from both the wrestling and boxing audience. You know what I mean? And the martial arts, karate, kung fu. Yeah.
Yeah, but a lot of pro wrestling fans. 80% of pro wrestling fans, I don't know if it's 80%, but a lot of pro wrestling fans don't like UFC or don't even give it a chance.
You're right, but enough do that it's a nice little chunk you can take out of that complete different genre. Then you go to the complete different genre of boxing. Then you go to the complete different genre of like people like Jackie Chan fans, like kung fu movie fans and karate fans. That's the whole different audience too. Like you'd be surprised how many retards out there think karate's awesome and still are into that kind of stuff, even though UFC...
We were talking before we came on the air, right? And I said that I had a couple buddies that loved boxing but hated UFC. And I don't understand, if you like boxing and if you like fighting, why wouldn't you like UFC? You know what I mean?
I can understand why but to say that UFC is garbage and all they do is hug, come on, boxing, you get a lot more clinching and
basically dancing around, what I mean?
They dance around, pump a jab, they'll clinch if anything gets serious, and you can't do nothing in the clinch in boxing, unlike MMA.
Right.
I just think people need to get used to the fact that they got to see people clinching on the ground,
Right.
Maybe it's too much homophobia out there. Who the hell knows? I don't know.
I don't know what it is, man. I'm into all three, you know what I mean? But as far as far as pro wrestling is concerned, it's I guess as you get older, you know what I mean? As you get older, you kind of move on to...
That's what ruined pro wrestling for me was MMA. I still like pro wrestling. I still love old pro wrestling, like the documentaries and old tapes.
With me. That may have been what did it for me, too, is just when you get into that UFC thing and the real aspect of it, and...
Because it's promoted like WWE, but then the payoff is a real fist fight. You know what I mean? Not a fist fight, like a real street fight almost.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy, and just the corniness in WWE as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I know where that comes from. You've got to get your kids. You've got to get your.
Oh yeah.
I just think you can cater. They back in the Attitude Era, they catered to kids. And they catered to the older fans as well, you know what I mean? You had some risky stuff, and then you had the PG stuff, you know what I mean? And
they didn't really cater to kids too much during that Attitude Era. Name like one or two standout angles or people that were the guys that were drawing the young demographic. I can't really think of anything. The Hardy Boys had the females, but they were doing crazy stuff too. So
yeah.
It was all, Sable was the top thing for rating quarter hours.
There were gimmicks back then, too, as well. Comedy gimmicks, you know what I mean, where they were based around, people like Goldust and Hornswoggle right now, it's based around kids, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I don't know.
I guess the only thing I can think of that it's kind of silly that pops out from the Attitude Era that maybe caters to people with either bad sense of humor or children was it was a match between Al Snow, and remember his head? He had the mannequin head.
Yep.
It was a tag team match. Al Snow and Head versus Scotty it wasn't even in it. Yeah, it was Too Sexy. Scotty Too Hotty and Brian Christopher. And the finish came when Al Snow was out and hurt, selling something, and they took the head, and then in the bottom of the head there was an opening, like where the throat would be, and they jammed a bottle of Head and Shoulders shampoo in there. And they pinned it, and because it's head and shoulders, and his shoulders were pinned to the mat, they won the match that way. So that was...
I like that. See, that
was pretty...
innovative,
It's decent, I guess. I don't know.
All right.
It seemed ridiculous at the time, but yeah, it sounds funny.
All right, whatever. What's next, man? What's next? What do you...
Guest 113 is what's next. He's been in there all night. We haven't even said hello.
He sure has, man. He's been in there with guest 112, 111, 109, 105, 103, and 100, my baby.
Oh, yeah, 94, 91. We got them all.
All right, so you can get in the live chat room. You can see those guests in there. WZROnline.com /chat. Live phone number to call is 724-444-7444. 30273, followed by the pound key, is the call ID number.
4. It's like golf.
4.
You know how when you play golf and right before you hit it, you go 4. You know.
Do you?
Bad. Not any good. My apologies.
A golf joke?
What was I thinking? I might as well make a softball joke next. Uh-oh! Uh-oh!
That was all right. See,
there you go. Brought it back.
I was going to give you a D- for the other joke, but you gave it back. Hey, by the way, this Celebrity Apprentice